When you begin to understand that your worth is not tied to anyone else's approval, everything about the way you carry yourself changes. Too many women make the mistake of shaping their lives around external validation. They're waiting for a man to tell them they're beautiful, waiting for society to applaud their success, waiting for the approval of friends before they feel they're on the right track. But that waiting becomes a prison, because if your sense of self is always in the hands of others, then you've given away the most precious thing you have, your autonomy. A woman who recognizes her own worth, who doesn't need a crowd to tell her that she's valuable, carries herself with a kind of quiet power that men immediately notice. It's not arrogance and it's not hostility. It's a subtle strength. It's the way she enters a room without needing everyone's attention, yet people naturally look her way. It's the way she makes decisions without apologizing for existing. It's the way she doesn't crumble when faced with criticism because her foundation isn't built on someone else's shaky opinion. Think of it this way: when a woman is constantly chasing validation, she's in survival mode. She's performing rather than living, tailoring every move to fit someone else's expectations. But when she knows her worth, she becomes free. Free to say no when something doesn't align with her values. Free to walk away from men who don't treat her with respect. Free to pursue her passions without wondering if it looks acceptable. This freedom is magnetic because men instinctively sense it. It shows them that she cannot be easily swayed, that she stands on solid ground, and that being with her would mean entering into a relationship built on strength rather than neediness. And here's the paradox. When you no longer beg for validation, you receive it in abundance. Because men admire women who respect themselves. They may admire a pretty face for a moment, but they dream about the woman who combines beauty with dignity. They might be drawn to a charming personality, but they stay with the woman who doesn't crumble under pressure, who refuses to let insecurity drive her choices. This isn't about rejecting relationships or love. It's about preparing yourself to be loved in the right way. If you don't know your worth, you'll settle for men who don't either. You'll excuse bad behavior, cling to half-hearted affection, and call it love because you're afraid of being alone. But when you truly embrace your value, you raise the standard. You won't accept being treated as an option. You won't tolerate disrespect, and because of that, the kind of man who is serious about building something real will recognize that you're not like everyone else. He'll step up, because he'll know he has to in order to earn you. What every man dreams of isn't a woman who bends and breaks just to be chosen. It's a woman who doesn't need to be chosen to know she's enough. She's chosen already by herself every single day. That certainty changes the entire dynamic of attraction. It takes her from being just another face in the crowd to being unforgettable. So start with this. Stop looking outward for proof that you matter and look inward instead. Build your self-worth through discipline, integrity, and commitment to growth. Stand tall in who you are without apology. Because the moment you do, the men who are worth your time will see it, and they won't want to let you go. The truth is simple. When you know your worth, the world cannot help but acknowledge it, and the right man will dream of standing beside you, not because you need him, but because together you are unstoppable. There's a profound misconception that femininity and strength cannot coexist, that to be soft is to be weak, and to be strong is to sacrifice your gentleness. That is false, and it has robbed many women of their natural power. True strength doesn't require you to discard your feminine essence. In fact, the most captivating women are those who can embrace both simultaneously. They are graceful yet unshakable, kind yet firm, nurturing yet unwilling to be taken for granted. That paradox, gentle but powerful, creates an energy that men are instinctively drawn to, because it reflects balance and wholeness. When a woman embraces only strength, she risks hardening herself against life. She builds walls so high that no one can truly reach her. She becomes efficient, disciplined, perhaps even successful, but the warmth that makes her human begins to fade. And on the other end, when a woman embraces only softness, she risks being trampled, used, or dismissed. She may be pleasant, agreeable, and accommodating, but she lacks the backbone to say no when it matters, to draw the line where it should be drawn. Both extremes create distortion. Both rob a woman of her full potential, but when strength and femininity are woven together, they create harmony, and harmony is irresistible. Imagine a woman who can comfort her partner with gentleness after a long day, yet also stand her ground when her boundaries are tested. Imagine a woman who listens with empathy, but will not tolerate disrespect. Imagine a woman who carries herself with elegance, but also with an undeniable presence that says she knows who she is. That is balance. That is what makes her unforgettable. Men don't dream of women who crumble under the slightest pressure, nor do they dream of women so hardened by bitterness that they've lost their warmth. They dream of a woman who brings peace without weakness and fire without destruction. This balance is not something you stumble into. It must be cultivated. It requires you to ask yourself, am I hiding behind toughness because I'm afraid of being hurt? Or am I hiding behind sweetness because I'm afraid of conflict? Strength without compassion turns to rigidity. Femininity without strength turns to fragility. But when you consciously integrate the two, you become a force that doesn't need to dominate, yet cannot be dismissed. Men notice this immediately, even if they can't put it into words. They sense it in the way you carry yourself, in the way you speak, in the way you handle both affection and adversity. They admire the woman who can make them feel at home in her presence, yet also challenges them to rise higher. They respect the woman who can say yes with love, but also no with conviction. And more than anything, they are captivated by the mystery of how someone can be so soft yet so strong, so yielding yet so unmovable at the same time. This is not just about attracting men, it's about becoming the kind of woman who lives with integrity. Because life itself demands both qualities, there will be moments where gentleness will heal and moments where strength will protect. If you lean too far in either direction, you'll find yourself unprepared for what life inevitably brings. But if you cultivate both, you will not only attract the kind of man who admires and respects you, you will also build a life rooted in resilience and grace. The truth is this: men may be drawn to beauty, but they dream of the woman who embodies balance, the one who carries both softness and strength like two sides of the same coin. And when you learn to live in that balance, you don't just become someone's dream, you become a woman no one forgets. If there's one quality that separates a fleeting attraction from a lasting bond, it's emotional intelligence. Beauty may catch the eye, charm may spark interest, but emotional maturity is what sustains connection. It's the difference between a relationship that crumbles under the weight of conflict and one that grows stronger through it. And make no mistake, every man, whether he can articulate it or not, dreams of a woman who understands emotions, both her own and his, with clarity and grace. Emotional intelligence begins with self-awareness. It means recognizing your feelings in the moment without letting them hijack your behavior. Too many people live at the mercy of their emotions. They lash out in anger, withdraw in silence, or manipulate through guilt. But those patterns destroy trust. When a woman cultivates emotional intelligence, she learns to pause before reacting, to understand what she feels, and to communicate it without venom. That pause alone between feeling and reacting creates an atmosphere where respect and safety can grow. Men value that deeply because a relationship without emotional chaos becomes a sanctuary rather than a battlefield. It doesn't mean ignoring emotion, quite the opposite. It means feeling fully but expressing it constructively. Imagine the difference between saying, "You never listen to me," in a fit of frustration versus saying, "I feel unheard when this happens." One provokes defensiveness, the other invites understanding. That's the subtle power of emotional intelligence. It transforms confrontation into collaboration. It allows love to breathe rather than suffocate under constant tension. A woman with this kind of maturity becomes rare, because she doesn't just understand her own emotions, she also develops empathy for others. She can recognize when a man is struggling, even if he doesn't put it into words. She can listen without immediately judging, offer comfort without trying to control, and challenge without belittling. That ability makes her unforgettable, because men long for peace and understanding as much as they long for passion. The world outside is already filled with pressure and battles. Coming home to someone who can offer both empathy and stability feels like a blessing they'll never want to lose. And here's what makes it even more powerful. Emotional intelligence doesn't just serve the relationship, it serves the woman herself. She stops being controlled by insecurity, envy, or fear. She learns to hold steady when life tests her. She doesn't spiral into unnecessary drama because she's grounded in her own awareness. That self-possession radiates dignity, and dignity is magnetic. Men are drawn to women who don't crumble at every inconvenience, who can navigate conflict without tearing everything apart, who know how to steady the ship rather than capsize it. Of course, cultivating this isn't easy. It requires humility to admit your own flaws, discipline to manage your impulses, and courage to communicate honestly. But that's exactly why it's so rare, and exactly why it's so valuable. The woman who invests in her emotional intelligence sets herself apart from the crowd. She becomes the partner every man hopes for, the one who doesn't just add beauty to his life, but wisdom, stability, and depth. When you master your emotions, you master the way you love. And when you love with both heart and wisdom, you don't just capture a man's attention. You earn his respect, his loyalty, and his devotion. That is the woman who becomes not just desired, but cherished. One of the greatest mistakes women make in relationships is believing that in order to support a man, they must abandon themselves. They think that his mission must become their only mission, that their value is found in being absorbed completely into his world. While sacrifice has its place, the truth is that no man dreams of a woman who disappears into him. What he longs for is a partner who stands beside him, someone who believes in his mission yet refuses to lose sight of her own. That balance is what creates admiration, respect, and lasting attraction. Every man who is serious about life carries a burden. He is trying to move forward, to create, to provide, to become something greater than he currently is. That weight can be heavy, and when he finds a woman who encourages him, who believes in his vision, it fuels him. She becomes a source of strength, because her faith in him reminds him why he's pushing forward. But if that encouragement comes at the cost of her own growth, something essential is lost. Because what truly inspires a man is not a woman who only follows, but a woman who also leads herself. Men dream of being admired by women who have their own drive, not necessarily the same ambitions or career paths, but a sense of purpose. A woman with passions, goals, and her own identity doesn't just support his mission, she elevates it. She challenges him to rise higher because he sees her rising too. She doesn't need to compete with him, but her very presence becomes a reminder that he cannot remain stagnant. A relationship like this becomes a partnership where two people are running toward their visions, sometimes side by side, sometimes on separate tracks, but always cheering one another forward. Contrast that with the woman who abandons her mission entirely. At first, a man might enjoy the attention, the sense that everything revolves around him. But over time, it suffocates. He begins to feel the weight of carrying not only his own life, but hers as well. And without her own sense of direction, resentment grows on both sides. She feels unappreciated, and he feels burdened. That dynamic erodes attraction because it strips away respect. Men respect women who respect themselves, and respecting yourself means staying committed to your own path. Supporting his mission while protecting your own also demands boundaries. It means you can encourage him without losing your center. You can stand beside him in his battles while still fighting your own. You can celebrate his victories while pursuing your own triumphs. This isn't selfish, it's necessary, because the strongest relationships are not built on dependency, but on interdependence. Two whole people choosing to walk together, not two halves desperately clinging to each other to feel complete. This is what inspires men more than anything. The woman who chooses to support them, not out of desperation, but out of strength. She doesn't need him to define her, yet she freely gives him her loyalty and encouragement. She doesn't abandon her identity, yet she invests deeply in his success. That combination is rare, and it makes her unforgettable. The truth is, a man doesn't dream of a woman who gives up her life for him. He dreams of a woman who stands beside him with her own life intact. Because when he looks at her, he sees not only the one who believes in him, but the one he believes in too. And together, they build something neither could have built alone. There is something deeply compelling about mystery, and it's not about playing games or being manipulative. It's about holding on to the parts of yourself that keep unfolding over time, so that others, especially the man you're with, never feel they've reached the end of your story. When a woman gives everything away too quickly, when she lays out every thought, every insecurity, every detail without restraint, she strips away the sense of discovery. And discovery is what keeps a man engaged, curious, and drawn in. Mystery doesn't mean being distant or cold. It doesn't mean shutting down or withholding affection. It's about depth. It's about knowing that you are an ocean, not a puddle. That there are layers to who you are. Your dreams, your passions, your intellect, your humor. That can't all be revealed in a single moment. Men dream of women who surprise them, who keep them on their toes, who reveal more of themselves as trust deepens. It's the unfolding of that journey that builds devotion, because every step closer feels earned, not simply given. When a woman is mysterious in this sense, she is magnetic. She carries herself in a way that suggests there is always more to know, more to understand, more to be captivated by. It's the difference between reading a shallow story you can finish in minutes and embarking on an epic that draws you back again and again. Men want to feel that their partner is someone they could spend a lifetime discovering, never reaching the end, always finding something new that makes them admire her even more. But too often, women believe that openness means oversharing. They reveal every wound, every detail, every secret as a way of proving intimacy. The intention may be good, but what it often creates is exhaustion rather than intrigue. Mystery lies not in dishonesty, but in pacing. It's knowing when to reveal and when to hold back, when to speak and when to let silence work its magic. The greatest allure is often found in what is suggested, not what is shouted. Magnetism is tied to this, because mystery without presence is emptiness. What draws people in is not only what you withhold, but how you carry yourself in the moment. A magnetic woman is present. She listens with her full attention. She speaks with purpose, rather than filling silence with noise. She doesn't scramble to be liked because she already likes herself. That self-assuredness is what pulls people closer without her having to chase. She is like a flame, bright, warm, and alive. People gather near because they want to, not because she begs them to. Men dream of this combination more than they often realize. They want a woman who feels alive, who is open enough to be vulnerable, but wise enough not to be transparent to the point of predictability. They want to know there is always more to learn, more to be surprised by. And they want to feel that the mystery is not a mask, but the natural depth of a woman who has cultivated herself beyond the superficial. The truth is, you do not need to give all of yourself away to be loved. In fact, love grows stronger when there is always more to discover. Mystery fuels attraction and magnetism sustains it. Together, they create a presence that men don't just desire for a moment, they dream about it for a lifetime. There is a kind of beauty that goes far beyond appearance, a kind of presence that lingers in the memory long after words are forgotten. It's the energy of joy, the lightness, warmth, and vitality that a woman brings into a room simply by being fully alive. Men are drawn to this not because it is loud or exaggerated, but because it is rare. The truth is, life is heavy, the world can be cold, and everyone carries burdens. When a woman radiates joy, when her spirit carries a sense of openness and delight, she becomes a source of renewal. She doesn't deny hardship, but she doesn't allow hardship to consume her either. That balance between reality and joy is magnetic. Feminine energy has always been misunderstood, often reduced to surface-level gestures or stereotypes. But in truth, it is something far deeper. It is receptivity, creativity, flow, and warmth. It's not weakness. It's not passivity. It's the power to nurture life, to soften what is harsh, to create harmony where there is tension. Men feel this instinctively. They may not have the words for it, but they feel it when they're with a woman who is playful without being frivolous, gentle without being fragile, vibrant without being overwhelming. Feminine energy is not about pretending. It's about allowing your natural essence to shine without distortion. When joy and feminine energy come together, they create something unforgettable. Think of the woman who laughs easily, not in a forced way, but because she genuinely delights in life. Think of the woman who can turn an ordinary evening into something memorable, not because she planned it perfectly, but because her presence brings light to it. Think of the woman who makes others feel lighter just by being around her, who encourages playfulness and optimism without ignoring reality. That is the kind of presence men dream of because it transforms their experience of the world, but this joy cannot be faked. You cannot plaster on a smile while bitterness eats at you inside. You cannot radiate light if you are consumed by resentment or fear. That's why cultivating joy requires inner work, gratitude, perspective, self-respect, and an openness to life itself. It means choosing not to let every disappointment harden you. It means learning to celebrate even small victories. It means staying connected to wonder, to beauty, to the parts of life that remind you why it is worth living fully. A woman who embraces this energy doesn't drain the men around her, she inspires them. She doesn't add chaos to their lives, she brings peace and vitality. And here's the paradox, men often think they want intensity, but what they truly long for is joy. They long for someone who makes them feel that life is worth fighting for, worth savoring, worth enjoying. A woman who embodies this doesn't just attract a man, she elevates him. She gives him a glimpse of what life could look like if he continues to grow alongside her. This isn't about perfection. It's not about being cheerful all the time or ignoring your struggles. It's about carrying a spirit that chooses life over bitterness, that leans toward growth instead of despair, that embraces love rather than cynicism. And when that energy shines through, it captivates in a way no external beauty can. Because at the end of the day, what every man truly dreams of is not just a beautiful face or a charming personality, but a woman whose presence makes him feel alive. And when you radiate joy and embody the essence of feminine energy, you become not only unforgettable, you become irreplaceable. At the heart of it all, becoming the woman every man dreams of is not about bending yourself into someone else's mold or living to satisfy external expectations. It's about embodying the qualities that make you both captivating and grounded, knowing your worth without apology, balancing your strength with feminine grace, mastering your emotions so that you bring peace rather than chaos, supporting his mission while never abandoning your own, keeping a sense of mystery that deepens with time, and radiating joy that turns everyday moments into something extraordinary. A dream woman isn't created by chance. She is forged through discipline, self-awareness, and an unwavering commitment to growth. And what makes her irresistible is not that she needs to be chosen, but that she has already chosen herself. She doesn't merely attract men, she commands their respect, their devotion, and their loyalty by being whole, complete, and unshakably authentic. The truth is simple. When you rise into this version of yourself, you don't just become every man's dream. You become the kind of woman who transforms lives, beginning with your own.